All right, looks like we are indeed live. Fireside chat number 266. Let's see here. All right. Number one, I've been working on a version 3 of profiles. So basically it's just a whole redesign. I know, like I've said before, we've actually been updating them to version 2, and that's actually not completed. So I've kind of stopped work on that in the meantime while we work on version 3, which I think looks a lot better. Um, yeah, I don't actually have an image or anything prepared. That's what I was just looking at. But anyway, it's a lot more condensed, fits a lot more information, makes room for the new operations that I think I've talked about previously. Basically, just going to be you help out with major endeavors, jobs within WA. You get sort of a commemorative medal. Um, it's going to have room for those, more certifications, etc., etc. So I think it's going to be pretty cool. And yeah, if you have access to Command Center, do please check that because I've been asking people for feedback on what they think looks best and different ways of doing things. As of this very moment, I think we are probably looking at, well, if you're in that channel, the final image I posted as far as certification checkmarks designs. Um, yeah, so I think we'll probably go with that. Um, Beyond that, a few other things. Been doing some fiddling around with some of our bots. So the Bifrost bot had been having some small issues. I think it's still working okay, but I can't even find the developer of the bot, and his website has the domain name expired. So I am thinking that that is all out of commission. The bot is still functioning for whatever reason. I don't know. I guess he paid for some hosting service, and maybe that's still running. I don't have the slightest clue what's going on with that, but anyway, I think that running a bot that does not seem to have a developer that still exists is probably not the best idea. And again, it had been having some technical issues, so um, yeah, so we just got rid of that, and we brought in Arcane to replace it. Arcane does quite a few other functions, but for the time being, we're just going to use the logging function and stick with that. Um, and it seems to function pretty well. I actually got us the premium version, so uh, it's pretty quick. That was one problem. The Sanctifico is a Mi 6 and actually does have a logging function, but the problem we were encountering is that it's like 3 minutes slow. So it will just say that something happened quite a while after it actually happened, which is not the end of the world, but it's a little annoying because the bot that we replaced, Bifrost, was pretty quick on the draw with that. So that's why we brought in Arcane, and Arcane seems to be doing the trick. Um, yeah, covers everything that the old bot was doing, so that's awesome. Moving on from that, let's see. Oh, yeah, so messing around with Sanctifico, set up some automations. So basically, anytime somebody is promoted or demoted, there's an automatic notification that's sent out in Command Center. So I initially had the idea that we could set it up to actually notify and specify the exact rank change. Um, but I think probably there's two avenues to do it. So the way I have it set up now is kind of the shortcut route, where basically anytime there's a rank rule change, the bot simply announces that, and it basically says, "Hey, this person changed ranks. Make sure the associated information is updated to reflect that." And so there's a few of those. If you're in Command Center, you can see those. There's basically one for leaving active duty, which specifies, hey, get them off the roster, but ensure they're on the lineage record, so we still have easy access to their information should they return to active duty, so we can sort of just throw them back onto the roster, plug it back in. And then there's one that says, yeah, they've joined, or return to active duty, so ensure they're added to the roster, and make a profile and bot commands for them. So basically just reminders, but it kind of keeps us on our toes. So instead of relying on human eyes just catching those things, the bot will just guaranteed spot it. Well, practically guaranteed, unless it happens to take place in like a tiny window the bot is offline, which is pretty unlikely. So I think useful. And then, yeah, basically the very manual, very more tedious way we can do it that we can set it up is anytime a rank roll is lost, the bot will notify and say exactly what rank was lost. And anytime a rank is gained, the bot will notify and say what rank is gained. So basically we can piece it together from that. That's probably the best way to do it. The reason being that the way automations work, we can't really set it up to detect a promotion because we can't guarantee how the promotion is issued. So basically the way the automations work, it can detect, okay, this person let's say this person gained the chief petty officer role and they already had the master gunner role. Okay, that must mean they got promoted. But what if the person promoting them removed the master gunner role and then put the chief petty officer role in? Then it wouldn't trigger it. So you can see there's multiple ways for a person to issue the promotions, and we can't have it such that the automation actually detects all of those possible avenues. So it really has to be done in a more piecemeal way where it detects a rank being lost and it detects a rank being gained and posts a notification for each one. And then that really does everything that we need. I mean, for those who can't see it, we have a promotions channel where you're supposed to post anytime you promote somebody. So this just makes it easier because, again, I mean, anything we can automate, we should automate. I think that's really been my MO, and I think it's a good move. It just makes it easier on everybody. So, yeah, in fact, I'm going to add that to the to-do list because I think it's not on there. And I know I had brought up the idea, I mean, potentially we could try to even automate promotion messages being sent, but I think that's not a good idea. I mean, it would be more impartial, but also more impersonal, and I think that's just not, probably not what we want to do. So I am thinking, and I know I brought that up previously, was asking that, but I am thinking we will probably just keep it, on the face-wise, we'll keep it the way it currently is, and then that will just be one less little box to tick as far as, okay, make sure you post in the promotions channel describing that you did it. The bot will simply handle that, and then we'll have the record of it. Let's see what else we've got here. Alpha Blot is continuing, so make sure you DM COs got and yeah, answer some riddles, chance to win some money, so do that. One change, and I didn't announce this, I probably will make an announcement for it, but it's a relatively minor change. So for some time now we've been doing it that in order to be eligible for reservist, you had to have reached Marine. So a recruit who goes to inactive doesn't become a reservist. They go back to guest and they have a previously recruited role. I understand the reasoning on that, but I think it's probably just more complicated than it is actually benefiting anything. So I think that we'll just say if you get a recruit and they go inactive, they become a reservist, and that's fine. Because we're not really seeing people take advantage of reservist or something almost ever. I think there's like one or two people that are reservists that are actually like active enough to be active duty. I think the rest of them maybe could be convinced to return to active duty, but they aren't actually active at all. So, yeah, I don't think it really solves any problems. I think it really just is a needlessly complicated thing. So we're just dumping that and saying, okay, if you go inactive and you've already joined, you're reservist. You can come back anytime. Simple. Way we were doing it before. ICER 1v1 on League of Legends tomorrow. That's tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. So come around for that. The ICER 1v1 Shadow Isles categories there for that. So you can check out the channels in there for some information. Tournament chat is kind of the primary starting point for all the information on that. And finally, we've been discussing some theoretical potential strengthening of platoon structures. I'll try to go over that as quickly as I can. It's kind of complicated. I'm not saying anything is going to happen. We've really just been vaguely brainstorming something, down the road. But basically, we've just been thinking about, okay, the way platoons work right now is they are basically non-existent. They're just a method of tracking our events and activity on a given game. And I think that works fairly well, but the one downside is that because houses and families are also, house and family leadership mostly, to generalize, has not been active at all. So what that means is that people are not very invested in houses or families. So that kind of causes some issues because we sort of need some sort of WA institution that people are invested in. So because what we have right now is activity, but not necessarily people invested in anything beyond that. And not everyone is going to be invested, but the issue is that nobody is invested. So, or I say nobody, but few people, especially few new members. And I think a lot of it is just a lack of awareness. So the idea is, can we strengthen those structures, make them more evident to people? And I think some methods we've discussed are potentially dividing up the roster by platoon or game rather than by house and family, which would purely be on the back end. So it would just be a paperwork thing where basically instead of administration doing roster review as a whole per house, we would have individual platoon leaders do their own roster reviews of the people in their platoons, which opens up the whole barrel of worms of, okay, which platoon are people listed under them? Because the benefit of the current system is that you aren't in a platoon, and so you can play multiple games. And I think that's actually very good. So you can see why this is purely at the theoretical brainstorming point, because it's sort of a crossroads or sort of a point of no return, basically. If we do make the platoons more evident structure-wise in that way, it creates the problem of, okay, well, in that case, then how do we figure out what platoon somebody is a part of? So we could say, okay, well, you can just be a part of as many platoons as you want, and it's just a method of tracking activity, which could be a way to do it, and would probably be the logical way to do it. So somebody is going to show up on multiple different platoon rosters on the roster review side of things. One advantage of this is that because we are really focused on the actual ranks and chain of command, it puts the responsibility on those people, to the people running the platoons, to actually get in touch with the people in their platoons and remind them to post in roll call if they haven't yet. I think the only potential disadvantage there is if somebody is missing roll call, they could have multiple platoon leaders reminding them to do it, but I don't think that's horrible. So that's a potential option, and it also opens up some more duties to be assigned to each platoon and makes the platoons a bit clearer. We have discussed potentially going even further and bringing back individual platoon channels, but I think that, again, brings up some negative things. I think how wide open we are right now is quite nice, that you can just kind of open up any game channel, and that's the headquarters. We discussed potentially individual platoon roll calls, but again, it's a similar thing where it's kind of confusing because if somebody's a part of multiple platoons, so they have to post multiple roll calls, so that doesn't really sound very good. So hopefully that gives you some ideas of some of our discussions. As you can see, I don't know if there's anything concrete. We might not even change anything at all. That's probably where I'm leaning right now, but I think it's a good thing to kind of discuss. You don't want to just, we don't want to rest in our laurels and just say, okay, it's perfect all the time. I think it's always good to kind of touch base and see, are we doing things the best right now, or can we improve things without, changing things just for the sake of changing them. So that's something we've been discussing lately. But with that said, I'm going to be around for office hours if anyone does want to stop by.